Hey, what's up dudes? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. Now we're going to be talking about something very non-definitive in the Dead by Daylight community, and that is monster killers, non-humanoid killers, and we'll get to the description of what that is as thin of a line as we will walk with it here in just a minute. Now this is sparked by the recent Dead by Daylight developer Q&A, where when one of the devs was asked about non-humanoid killers, he gave the response of never say never. Now the scary thing is he did group Demogorgon in there, which he's bipedal. He's not technically a human, but he's still bipedal, so that's a weird description. We'll get into that in a minute. But before we get completely into this video, dudes, I do have to let you know I do have a sponsor for this video, and that is the OperaGX browser. There are so many cool features that come built in with this browser that completely blow every other browser I've ever used out of the water. Features like GX Control, where you can limit the amount of CPU and RAM the browser's using to help improve whatever you're doing outside of the browser, like watching a stream or playing a game, downloading a game. And that's the same with the network limiter, as you can limit the amount of bandwidth the browser is actually able to use as well to improve all of those experiences in the same way. But one of my personal favorite features with this browser is all of the integrated features it has with Twitch, Messenger, Twitter, Discord. You can literally link all of these socials up and be able to keep an eye on them right from your sidebar. I can click on my Twitch and watch anybody that I'm following who is live at the current moment. I can check my messages on Facebook, I can scroll through my Twitter, or check my Discord server to make sure you crazy dudes aren't getting into anything you're not supposed to be. And not to mention that you don't only have to use this on your PC, you can also get it on your mobile device as well, so if you don't have it on there, make sure to get it. It can completely replace whatever browser you're using everywhere. So why don't you join me and press F to pay respects to those traditional web browsers, because OperaGX is here to take over. It's designed and built for gamers, and once you download this thing, you'll never go back, believe me. So download for free today. I'll leave a link in the description down below to my download link so you can help support the channel and support Opera at the same time. Major thank you to the dudes at Opera for sponsoring this video. It means a ton. Thank you for the support. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this video. So what are the devs' description of a non-humanoid killer in Dead by Daylight? Technically that would be the Demogorgon, as that was directly referenced by the dev when answering this question. He defines the Demogorgon as a non-humanoid killer, even though I don't think that's the best description, because that's not what a lot of the community think when they think of a non-humanoid monster killer. The Demogorgon is still technically a bipedal character whose skeleton, in-game skeleton, could be used on other characters, i.e. a werewolf, i.e. Pumpkinhead, something like that, etc, etc. So that's really the definition that we have to dance around here. Now, I kind of want to go all out when talking about this and doing a theory for it, and go kind of into the deep end of a monster that they could possibly add in the future if they were up to the challenge. Now, of course, with the description that we've gotten from the devs specifically for what a non-humanoid monster killer is, we can obviously include some of those as well, even though I don't think they technically apply in my opinion. So what is the most likely non-humanoid character that we could get in Dead by Daylight, licensed or otherwise? Well, of course, that would be a werewolf. Even though it's still technically a humanoid, it's bipedal, it's just a wolf man. I think that is the most likely, according to the dev's description of a non-humanoid killer, that is the most likely non-humanoid monster killer we could get in Dead by Daylight. And as far as licensed killers go, of course the Xenomorph is in there, because the Xenomorph would definitely be described as a non-humanoid killer based on their description of a monster killer. And then of course other characters like Pumpkinhead and maybe even Chucky, as he's a small doll, so he wouldn't technically be a human killer. So that's their description. Those are the most likely that we can get from that, and those are the ones that I think you're most likely to see in Dead by Daylight in the future, licensed or otherwise. And there's so many others that you can also group into that. It's not funny, so please bear that in mind. But when we talk about a monster killer, what do we mean? We mean a monster killer. Now, what is a direct reference of something that's already in Dead by Daylight that people have actually wanted and got super hyped about seeing recently in the game? Well, all you have to do is go to Tome 8 and go to the Trapper's Tome archive video, and you'll see one of the killers, one of the monster non-humanoid killers that a lot of people would like in this game. And that is, of course, the giant terrifying spider in his video. Now, I did get a lot of mixed responses when I talked about this in my Q&A video, the giant spider killer, as a lot of people have arachnophobia. I have arachnophobia. It's a real thing and people are terrified of it, but I think that's the point of a horror game. A horror game isn't there to, for lack of a better word, coddle you and make you feel safe. You want to be scared, and what better way to to scare people to prey on a phobia. They already do it with chlorophobia with a clown. Why not do it with an arachnophobic killer? Now, the reason I'm not putting this in the most likely section, aside from, of course, what we went off of as the description directly from the devs, is because it would be a very, very hard killer to do. Not only do spiders, you know, walk on 8 legs and don't walk like normal humans, they also climb on walls. A spider climbing on a wall, regardless of whether it's power or not, and it would be a time thing where you can climb over a wall and have a cooldown to get past a certain loop. Maybe it helps with certain god loops, like on the game, where they can throw down a pallet and you literally have to break that pallet if you want to catch up. Maybe it's something where the spider can crawl on the wall over that. I think it would be a really challenging task for Dead by Daylight, but I do feel like that is the next step for this game. There's not a ton of other non-humanoid monster killers out there that I could actually think of that would fit well in this game. I could be wrong and you guys can correct me in the comments down below, but I do feel like the spider would be the most challenging killer that they've ever brought into this game, and for that reason alone, in my opinion, I think that would make it the most interesting killer they brought to the game. Now, believe it or not, you can actually apply some of the aspects of this potential spider killer to some of the killers in the most likely section. There are some killers in that most likely section that do things that are non-humanoid killer-esque as far as the Dead by Daylight description goes. If you look at the xenomorph, most of the time, or a lot of the time when you see them in the movies, and even in some of the games, they're crawling on walls or whatever else. And that would be something that I'd like to see brought into the game, because that's one of the scariest aspects for an alien, in my opinion, seeing them just crawl on the walls and not knowing that they're behind you or above you because they're on the ceiling and you didn't look up. But aside from that, I don't think there's a ton of other non-humanoid killers out there that you could do in this sense. I feel like there's more than likely some, but I wouldn't want to go from a giant spider to a giant ant or something like that, and I don't exactly want to see Cujo in the game. So I think they're walking a very thin line here with very few killers that they can do, but if they decide to do, could be some of the best killers in the game because of how unique they are. I know we've gotten this kind of layout of we know what we're going to expect with a slight variation to the power each time a new chapter comes out, because it's really the same thing. There's an M1, you have a power, and you're walking on 2 legs. I'd like to see something mixed into that formula to spice up the gameplay a little bit, if not for making it more scary or terrifying by preying on a phobia, then just more interesting in terms of gameplay and keeping the formula fresh and engaging for people who've been playing for years and for new people coming in. And like I said, I think the best way to do that is to take an established thing that we already have in the Dead by Daylight official lore that we got in an archive video, being the giant spider, which again does prey on a fear, arachnophobia, and bringing that into the game. Now, I don't think this is going to come anytime soon. I don't think this is likely to be chapter 22 or chapter 23 or even chapter 24. I think we could be waiting at least a year or 2 on something like this to happen, but I think with the people talking about it after that was mentioned in the Dead by Daylight Q&A, I do think this will get to the devs one way or another. Previously, they said they would never do non-humanoid killers, no monster killers, and now they're lightening up and saying, you know, never say never. So I think it's possible. I don't think we'll see it within like the next 6 months to like a year on the dot, but I do think it's something we can expect in the future, at least hopefully. I want you guys to let me know what you think in the comments down below, though. I couldn't personally, while I was recording this, think of any other non-humanoid, like giant spider-esque killers that they could add to the game, licensed or otherwise. So if you have any ideas, make sure to leave them in the comments down below. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say, and if they're interesting enough, maybe we should do a killer concept video on it. But that is going to do it for this video, dudes. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. My name is Toot, and I've been your host, and I'll see you dudes next time. Peace out.